Hello, it's Candy here, and I am here today to talk about health information management and my career and what I've gone through and some of the ups and downs of management, and just give a brief overview and talk about the many options that one could have in their career as a health information management professional with an RHIT. So health information management is often abbreviated as an HIM professional. And with an RHIT, that's a registered health information technician, and that's the 2-year degree. So you can get your 2-year degree I got mine from a community college. And then you have your RHIA, and that's your 4-year degree. Now, I stopped at a 2-year degree because when I was in high school, I went to a career technology school. No, it wasn't because I was bad or was pregnant or anything like that, and no shame if you went to a career technology school. But after my sophomore year, there was an option for you to go on to a career technology school, and then you could learn a trade, and then from there typically you would get a job and then start working. My senior year, I did work in a medical office, and from there I always knew I was going to be in the medical field, but there was one assignment I remember doing, and I believe the website is bls.gov, but it's the Bureau of Labor Statistics, now that I said it. And I just remember researching what are the highest paying jobs. Now, it's not, HIM, it's a great profession, but I wouldn't say it's the highest paying jobs, but I was looking more so, what degree do I need to get? And so I always knew that I was going to get my master's in healthcare administration, which is what I do have now. So I knew I wasn't stopping with my RHIT credential. Now, what stopped me from getting my RHIA credential is, it's like, okay, I have my RHIT, I could go get my RHIA, but what's really the difference? Because I knew that I was not going to code. So we'll get into all of that, but in summary, I have over 14 years of healthcare administration experience. And I say healthcare administration because most HIM jobs are only within revenue cycle for the most part. And so I did a little stint in reimbursement. And so in my previous organization, reimbursement was separated from revenue cycle. So I have some notes here because I done did everything. So 14 years of experience in various aspects of health information. Started off as a coder, as an outpatient coder. Then from there, I was a government audit analyst. Then I graduated with my bachelor's degree from Franklin University, which is based out of Columbus, but I finished all my schooling online, even my 2-year degree from Sinclair Community College. Started off in nursing. It took me a long time to get my associate's degree because I started off in nursing. After I did my clinical rotation, I said, oh no, this is not for me. So I did my clinicals in a nursing home, immediately switched my major to health information management. And I started my job right out of high school at a hospital. So did that, but back to my professional work history. Started off again as an outpatient coder, then as a government audit analyst. Ooh, there's something in between there. I went from, let me backtrack. Let me backtrack a little. Let me go to the very, very beginning. Okay, I worked in medical records when it was still on paper, child. So medical records, and then from there I went to transcription. Okay, then after transcription, I worked as an outpatient coder. At that point, I hadn't graduated from with my RHIT just yet, but that's why I almost forgot about those 2 jobs, because those 2 jobs are not listed on my resume just because my resume is just so long. So medical records, transcription, coding, government audit analyst. After I got my bachelor's degree, I got a job as a manager of process improvement and compliance. After that, I went to the charge master team. Charge master was actually in reimbursement. After I worked in charge master, then I went back to that same role that was manager of process improvement and compliance. That role, the title of that role changed to manager of coding and audits or something like that. I actually have to look back at my resume and see. Actually, let me take a look and see. Goodness gracious, what was the title? Manager of clinical documentation and coding quality. The role that role was audits. And then I became an adjunct faculty at a college, and then now I am a revenue manager. So I have had several different titles, and the nice thing about my career growth is that I have climbed up the ladder. Each and every job that I have taken has been a step up in pay, in learning, in skill. Even that switch between manager of process improvement and compliance to charge master as a revenue analyst, and then back to that same job but where the title changed, those were still all increases. And it's been great. And that was all with the same company until now. So I've had my natural career progression has been about every 2.5 years. At the 2.5 year mark, I started to get bored, and I've asked several times. I've asked my directors and VPs, like, is that natural? And they said for people who still trying to figure out their career, that is a natural career progression. Some people may tell you otherwise, but that is a pretty much natural career progression. The lady who was my manager, director, now she's VP. I was kind of following behind her, thinking that I was in her succession plan, but she kind of did the same thing. And that's a whole nother topic. But there are some things that I wanted to just talk about, because I feel that a lot of people who are in the HIM profession who have their RHIT, even when I teach courses now, a lot of them, when they finish their capstone class, so when you go to school and you finish your capstone class, that's when you're at the end of your program, you graduate, you go on and get your job. A lot of people are still saying that, oh, I want to be a coder, I want to be a coder. If you want to be a coder, that's fine, but there is so much more to HIM, and specifically with your RHIT credential, than coding. Yes, coding and remote jobs, there are a ton out there. What I see is that a lot of coding jobs that are posted, they want experience, of course. What job doesn't? I feel like you just have to have someone to give you a chance, that will give you a chance. I know that when I was searching for a job, especially wanting to get into management, it's like somebody just has to give me a chance. Please just give me a chance. And they did. They did give me a chance. But it's funny, I was asked, when teaching, what is something that you would tell people who are in that program, or who are getting their RHIT, and I have some notes here. So again, even today, there is a stigma that I have seen where most students have a set expectation in their mind to graduate and automatically become a coder. And I'm here to tell you again that there is so much more you can do with your RHIT. As you can see from my background, and I only have my RHIT. You can do so much more. I still encourage you to go beyond and get additional education. Now, in other areas that I have not worked in, where people have their RHIT, they work on the IT side. They work with Epic, another EHR or EMR is Cerner. So they work on the medical record side, the IT side with their RHIT or RHIA. But I can't speak to jobs with RHIA because I don't have mine. I just have my bachelor's in healthcare administration and then my master's also in healthcare administration. So as you can see from my background, I've had a variety of positions as I've climbed up the ladder and gained experience. So to me, the options are limitless with your RHIT. So with your RHIT, I feel that as long as you have your foundation in HIM, you can work anywhere within the revenue cycle umbrella. And when I say the revenue cycle umbrella, because it consists of, you have PFS, which is your patient financial services, depending on the organization, and how it's split up, because that can consist of your billing, your coding, so you have your revenue cycle, then you have your billing, coding, pre-registration, pre-certification or pre-authorization. You have auditing within coding. So if you do become a coder, there's even different levels within coding, because you typically start off with ER charging. On the hospital side, it's ER charging, and then outpatient coding, and then you have your surgical coding, or I believe that's inpatient coding. Again, when I was doing outpatient coding, and then actually, because I did not have my RHIT yet, I had graduated, but I had not taken or sat for my RHIT exam. The organization I was with changed their policy, and they said you cannot code anymore because you don't have your RHIT, so now you can only do ER charging. And ER charging is basically just, if I remember correctly, it's taking all the supplies that's used, because it's on the hospital side, so it's just taking all the supplies that's used, and don't get me to lying, but it's different from actually coding out the level of service. So I don't want to get into that and say something incorrect. But I did ER charging, but at first I was a diagnostic coder. That's what it is. So I was doing diagnostic coding x-rays, and other diagnostic testing. But outside of surgical coding and outpatient coding, then you have inpatient coding. So inpatient coding is another level that you have to have a lot of experience for. And then you have auditing. So auditing is a separate, I believe it can be a separate department from your regular coders. And so once you become an auditor for the coders, that's a pretty big deal. And then you can become a coding analyst as well. Now, usually when you become a coding analyst, you have to have your bachelor's degree. Depending on the organization, you can have your RHIT along with your bachelor's degree in a related field. So I believe the options are limitless. And then you could work with government audits. You can work with your leaders with your medical necessity denial. So you can work from a denial standpoint. Compliance is a whole other ball game, because there are coders that don't work for the coding department and that don't work in HIM or revenue cycle, they actually work for the compliance department. And their main role is to audit from a compliance perspective. So it's really important to understand the Medicare, rules and regulations, Medicare and Medicaid, payer relations and all of that. Speaking of payer relations, you can work in payer relations. When you have that background, when you can understand Medicare rules and regulations, that you can take that and go anywhere and work in any field. That is really key. So in addition to that, if you can get a student membership while you're in school, if you can get a student membership to other organizations such as HIMA, number one, you have to, if your school doesn't make you get a student membership to HIMA. So I believe that's required. I believe I had to have one. Or the school might have paid for it for me, or I had to pay for it. But due to my job, I belong to several organizations. The American Association of Neurological Surgeons, so AANS, HFMA, which is Healthcare Financial Management Association, and MGMA, the Medical Group Management Association, because I work on the physician company. I work on the physician company side. So that's one thing that I did not mention. In that journey, in my career journey, not only did I work on the hospital side, I bounced back and forth. Same company, but I bounced back and forth between the hospital side and the physician company side. So knowing the hospital side and the operations within the revenue cycle, and then the operations within revenue cycle on the physician side has been very beneficial for me. I think that's well-rounded experience. So to become a coder on the physician company side, very, very different. Very, very different. Most coders on the physician company side have their CPC. That's not affiliated with HIMA at all. It is affiliated with AAPC. I had thought about getting my CPC before, but I said I'm not going to do it. I already have my RHIT, my master's in healthcare administration. I'm not paying for another credential. I don't think it's necessary. At this point, I'm letting my experience speak for itself. But on the physician company side, what I have experienced now working for two different organizations is that a degree is not required to become a coder on the physician company side because of the credential that's used. For a CPC is not tied to a credential. An RHIT is tied to a degree, and an RHIT is credentialed through a HIMA. It's very, very, very different. I don't even know what foundations the course for CPC teaches, but it's very, very different. It is. I would say it's much easier to become a CPC than an RHIT, only because there's not as much schooling involved. I don't know about the exams. I do know that there are more CEUs that are required to maintain your CPC than your RHIT, and CEUs for your CPC can only be taken through approved AAPC classes or courses. With a HIMA, I can get CEUs from anywhere as long as when a HIMA reviews it, it will go through. It's very easy to obtain CEUs for a HIMA versus AAPC. So that's another thing to note. But that was I wanted to just do kind of an introductory video on my career, because I want to start doing these types of videos and sort of some mentoring videos, because I have so much experience about my career path, what I've gone through, some controversies about my career path, the different positions that I've taken, some mentors, my thoughts on diversity and inclusion, and the different activities that I've been in, just really the good, the bad, the ugly about my career. And so I thought, what a good way to start that by talking about the RHIT and how if you're pursuing your RHIT, there's much more to it. There's much more out there for you than becoming a coder. Most important. And I'm living proof of that. I'm really passionate about documentation improvement, but that field is still heavily dominated by clinical, by nurses, and I wish that would change. But again, that can be another quick video as well. So I feel like at this point I'm rambling, but I want to shout out my daughter who let me use her ring light. I wish I would have had this in my last video, but on that note, I'm going to end it here. If you have any questions about the RHIT or the health information management field or healthcare management from a revenue cycle standpoint, let me know. Leave your comments or questions in the comments below. Thank you for watching.